Hey everybody, it's Kenny K here again with another great movie called Dead Spa from 1988. Um, this movie gets a 5.2 on IMDb, and I actually give it a 5.5. It's a spoiler review, but before I get into spoilers, I'll say what the movie's about. Uh, Not a lot of known actors that I personally know. The only one that I knew was Ken Foree, better known from Dawn of the Dead. If you saw that movie, he is the one who says, "When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth." That very cool quote. What's his name? Uh, Roger or no Roger. I'm not sure what his name again was in Dawn of the Dead. Ken Foree. He plays Marvin. He's the personal trainer slash maintenance guy. The owner is Michael, and then Laura is his girlfriend, his new girlfriend, because he is a widower of his wife was completely batshit crazy. I mean, she was crazy. She was crazy, and they had a child, and it didn't work. A miscarriage, and eventually she had problems with her spinal cord, and she had to be in a wheelchair, and eventually she couldn't take it, and she thought that Michael was having an affair, which wasn't, and she put herself on fire at some point. So yeah, that's not normal, right? And she's the twin sister of David, and David still works in this gym. He, he this gym is basically an ultra modern gym. Everything works through computers. So if you say, "Oh, I'm gonna use a machine that like lap pull downs or something," you you have a card, slice it through a machine, and it says, "Okay, so many pounds you can lift," and then you're lifting that. It's monitoring your progress. Um, you also have Sergeant Stone and Lieutenant Fletcher, who are investigating a few of these murders because people start to fall left and right in this gym. Uh, and the funny thing is that this gym still keeps going on, and there are a lot of deaths involved, and so much so that even the most extreme deaths that you can imagine. Like an example is a shower, because what you're gonna have in this movie is one, gratuitous nudity to a point that it's a little bit almost to soft porn, because there's a moment when Michael's girlfriend she goes into this heat chamber to cool off, you know, or the sauna, and she's completely in the nude, and she is almost fingering herself. So it's pretty gratuitous, and you got extreme amounts of gore, practical effects. Now you know I like that, right? And especially practical effects. Now, basically the first murder happens when somebody and that's how the movie starts, when somebody is taking a sunbed, and basically this person becomes a Big Mac, you know, a Big Mac extra cheese, completely grilled. Okay, so the, these cops are involved because they want to know what's how this can happen. Was it sabotaged or not? And David is the guy who's in this monitor room, and he's doing everything. He's the computer expert, and like I said, he's the twin brother of Catherine, and he's basically monitoring everything. And he says, "No, there's nothing wrong with my system. No," because there's also a moment when there are a lot of these women in a shower, and the shower heads start to spray extremely warm water, scalding hot water, and the tiles are flying towards them, but with the, sharp, like razor blades almost, and some gets cut and things like that. And he says the machine doesn't control that, right? Tile is in the wall, and the water, it only controls the machine. But this gym, it's like it has all the colors of the rainbow. The people, the girls are all wearing those spandex, because after that first murder, you get a complete 80s aerobics scene. And I believe aerobics was something that was really big in the 80s. And it's so funny, and because it was not only for women, but women, you see the camera constantly focusing on their boobs and their asses, and in the background there are guys doing it. But I think they're doing it because, I mean, they're put in the background just to, I think, to lure and take a look at the ladies in front. There's also this fat guy on a bicycle, and he's looking like this. So, and I've always thought, okay, it's an aerobics room in my gym. The Those rooms are separate, not somebody with a treadmill or something. He can, this fat guy, and he's looking, and he's looking at all these women, but they're all wearing these spandex and typical 80s colors that basically, it's like colors that don't fit, and all these neon TL lights, red, pink, blue floors, pink walls, yellow ceiling. I mean, it's basically it's a typical 80s modern gym. Everything is computerized, and that's basically it. But people start falling. They're starting to fall like flies, and even then, people still are coming to this gym. So, and the owner, Michael, wants to stop the computers and put everything on manual again, but his lawyer and his lower management and David say you can't do that, because that's the thing that makes this gym so great. Because if they don't have that, they can easily go to another gym, right? And it's the same like any other gym. So he's like, oh, she's okay, but with the next situation, I'm cutting it off, okay? And now, going into spoilers. Now, before I go into spoilers for people who don't want to hear spoilers, this movie, I like this movie. It's cheesy, really cheesy, but a lot of gore. The nudity at some points was too much, too much. Because, like I said, you got girls in showers. You got a girl that's almost fingering herself in this, not a sauna, but this. She did aerobics, and then she was in this room that she can lay on and maybe dry up or something. It was with all these lights against the wall, and then you've got, of course, the clothing rooms, constantly gratuitous nudity, saunas, and then but gore allure. I mean, especially the end is, I can, that's what I can already say without spoiling. The end is one big massacre. Okay, this movie is a slasher slash supernatural horror movie, by the way. Uh, I liked it. I like the cheesiness. I like the actors, the way the, the typical 80s gym and the way like this guy saying how a woman goes up to this guy and she says, how many reps can you do? 15, 20 if I want to show off. And she says, can you show off? I'm an alpha, you're a beta, so buzz off. Assholes like that, but it's the quotes, those quotes alone, it's so stupid. There's a guy also that is he wants to be the man's man, but he's like the frailest guy there, and he has a belly, and he's taking over from another guy who was benching, and then Marvin comes and he says, whoa, 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 Freddy, I think his name was, shouldn't we take some weight off? And he says, no, I can handle it. And then eventually, okay, I'm gonna spot you. But then he's talking to someone and he's like, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore at all. So there are like these funny moments, but most of all, the gore. It's extreme. Okay, so that's why I like this movie. It's the gore, the cheesy acting, the 80s aerobics, and this multicolor gym. It's just fantastic. Now, spoilers. Now, um, at some point there is also a guy who's doing these flies for the chest and he's putting that cart in, and it says 120 pounds, okay, and then it says 130 pounds, okay, 140, wait, 150, help me, and eventually he gets teared apart because the thing is pushing his arms back, and he gets teared apart from the inside, so it's pretty gory, like I said. There is a moment that a lady in the clothing room, she stays behind, she gets this spike through her neck. um, there's also a lady that goes to the basement area, and those sprinklers, to put out fires, they're instead of water, acid is coming out, and she's melting away. And when we see her, she's still alive, and you can see her exposed brain and exposed pulsating heart that's still pulsating. And it's almost like a scene straight out of the Terrifier, the second Terrifier movie. If you remember that kill with that girl where he's eating her brain and she's still alive, but everything is exposed, her brain and so on, and it's kind of like that. And like I said, at the very end, it's just they hold this Mardi Gras party, and a lawyer says, "Listen, let's do the Mardi Gras party because we had a big, you know, we had a lot of money coming in because of that, and then you can do what you want." But the lawyer and the lower owner is their sleazebags, and they basically wanna uh, steal their money, and eventually he gets it. He gets it because he has the gall to basically. So Michael, the owner, is there with a costume, and he thinks it's Michael that's going to the safe, but it's actually the co-owner. They were working together, but then she kind of wanted to distance herself from him, and he thinks it's Michael. So he says, "Night, night, Michael," and he punches him out with a trophy. And then he has the gall to sit there in the Mardi Gras party, flirting with other women, going into the sauna, knowing that the guy full well isn't dead, and his head implodes basically. And the other one, apparently who he knocked out was the co-owner, the other owner, the co-owner, the under not the co-owner, the lower management, and she gets a mirror full of shards completely at her face, and she gets shredded to pieces. Now, why is this happening? David is basically possessed by sister, his late sister Catherine. She Catherine is still obsessed by Michael. Michael has moved on to his new girlfriend, her fingering girlfriend, Laura. She eventually tried to kill her too when she was in that room. She was almost pleasuring herself, but she lets this chlorine vapor out there, and she couldn't get out. And eventually, she had not permanent but eye damage, not permanent. Eventually, with the Mardi Gras party, her eyes are back again. She has to wear glasses, right? Michael, I didn't like him. I didn't like him. He was this show off guy. He had an ugly face, in my opinion. It was the era of the mullets, those that hair, neck carpets, I call them. And then he's there. He's going to the lawyer's house. He knows what they are doing, and he has a jacket on, just a jacket, and nothing underneath. You can see he's bare breasted, and I'm thinking, what the hell are you showing off? What are you doing? What the hell? Why are you clothed like that? Why are you clothed like that? Do a shirt on, you prick. I mean, he was he was a showboat, and he wasn't a good boss. I mean, I would immediately close down that system. And David, he knows David can't. He has a feud with David because David sort of blames him that Catherine committed suicide, and because it's the twin brother, he's the one that's getting possessed. And then at some point, Michael believes that Catherine, the his former wife, is now possessing. He's coming back as a ghost, so he's going to see this parapsychologist, Dr. Morey, and he says, "Listen, I'll come to your gym. I'll pretend to be an insurance agent, and I'll stay there until everybody's gone, and I'll do my investigation." So he does his investigation. He's the one who finds that girl that with the sprinkles, and he's completely in awe. And then he wants to get out, and then he sees Catherine coming from down the stairs, and he points a gun, and eventually the gun explodes in his hand. You see his hand bleed. He has a stump for a hand and blood coming out. So, and then he gets thrown to the ceiling, and thrown with his face against the wall, and he's dead. Now the movie wants you to believe that this David guy is basically the police think so, and Michael thinks so, that David is basically cross dressing as his late sister, because they eventually go to his house and they find all these female products and underwear and clothes and things like that. So they think he's cross dressing. So basically, Michael and Sergeant Stone and Lieutenant Fletcher, they go to the gym during the Mardi Gras party, and Ken Faree's there, and he says, "Listen, um, Marvin, look out for maybe somebody who looks like Catherine, because it's David as a crossdresser, and he's up to no good." And they put some other guy in the computer room to, guard it. And eventually Catherine comes in, but she can open the door with powers, and you already know it's not. It's supernatural, right? Everything is like tiles flying off. it's so stupid that they actually want you to think that David is the killer, but who in the hell can control tiles flying off, right? Or scalding water. Okay, that maybe you can control the water temperature, but the tiles flying off and things like that were multiple things. And yeah, but he did control the machines. There's a moment where he's teasing a few of the cyclists. And he said, "Let's put. He's a little bit fat. Let's put him on a higher, on higher altitude." And then he's like, ugh, and they're laughing with it, and they're teasing the guy, and they can control everything in that one monitor room. But then you have Catherine seducing the guy who's guarding it, and she takes his face and basically just breaks his jaw and twists it. Like I said, it's pretty gory, and there are really inventive kills. Another one of the inventive kills is Lieutenant Fletcher is there to basically flirt with the bar girl who makes the smoothies and things like that. And she wants to make a smoothie, but her hand is stuck in the blender and it starts to blend her hand off, and then it's going way, way, way up her arm and he can't get it off. Then he flies into the fridge and all these supplement pills are flying towards his head and the powder. And then they were also making sushi, so it was a quality gym. They had Japanese making sushi, fresh sushi, everything, smoothies, alcohol, cocktails, whatever. And these fish were like these eel-like fishes with like moray eels with sharp teeth, and they come to alive and they attack the cop, Lieutenant Fletcher, and they bite his throat out. I mean, all these great kills, inventive, stupid, yeah, but cool. They're cool. They're fun. Fun kills. This movie is basically, and then of course, at some point, Catherine says, "If I can't have you, Michael, everybody's gonna die here. Everybody." Then you have, at some point, you see the neon signs outside. That it's spelled Death Spa, and it had another name. I'm not sure what was the name, but and of course everybody's getting killed. People's faces are blowing up. People getting trampled on. They want to get out, but they can't. Eventually, the trick was to destroy the monitor, basically, and um, Michael does that by going to the uh, yeah the power bank of this monitor, and he's destroying it, and Catherine is trying to hold him back, and she eventually uh, torches up. Okay, and when they get there, Sergeant Stone, who is the female cop of the two, the survivor cop, she fires like her entire revolver in Catherine's ghost's face. So David dies eventually, of course, with his sister, and then we see, of course, that scalded skull saying, you don't you thought you're gonna get off that easy, don't you? You don't think that you're gonna get off that easy, don't you? So something like that. It's a fun movie. It's one of those movies you can just put your brain off, and just kind of laugh at situations. If you want to see some nudity, you got it. If you want to see some gore, you really got it. And yeah, it's a great movie. It's a fun movie, so I recommend it. Dead Spa, 1988, 5.5. Please subscribe, free, and let's have some more fun. See you next time. Bye.